Okay, this got
Hello,
it.
everyone. My name is Joe Batista. I'm a fan for Greatest American Hero, and I'm joined by author of the new book, Greatest American Hero Companion, Pat Jankiewicz. Pat, how you doing?
Not bad. You get points for pronouncing my name correctly, Mr. Batista.
Thanks so much. No problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you are an actor, and you're also obviously an author. Which came first, and how did one lead to the other?
Well, I was an author first. I wrote for my school paper and stuff, and then I just I've writing led to I wrote a commercial for David Lynch with my brothers Don and Tom, and he put me in the commercial. And after that happened, I got a commercial agent and I started booking commercials. I've done creature gigs. I'm kind of tall and I can move. I do yoga and stuff, so I can move in a funky manner. So I've also done some creature gigs. I can run as fast as a dog on all fours. So
Whoa.
I've done that. You know what I mean? I've done that, and and I love horror movies. I love genre. I love anything genre wise. You know what I mean? So one thing always leads to the other. I like the idea of being on set, whether it's acting or writing or anything else. And
Mhm.
to me, there's just an energy from that first donut and that first cup of coffee when you step onto a movie set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it'd be nice to feel that. Maybe one day for me. But you've written for a number of publications, Starlog magazine being one of them, Starburst, I believe, is the other one, a few others. And Hero is actually your fourth book. So it started with Jaws,
that was the
companion
very
list when
yeah.
you thought it was
That
safe.
was the very that's the very first one. You know what I mean? And I think it's the greatest American movie.
Uh-huh.
And the weird thing about Jaws is, and there's been a bunch of books written on Jaws, but all these snobby British books and everything on Jaws, they would always pretend Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, and Jaws the Revenge didn't happen.
Hmm.
And that fascinates me how the greatest movie of all time can immediately drop the below the bar so badly on the sequels.
Hmm.
And the stories behind that were kind of fascinating. You know what I mean? How did we get here? How did we get here into the shark chasing a one single family to the Caribbean? You
Hmm.
know?
Right, right. And Jaws is a classic. It's one of the first by Spielberg, right?
Yeah, it's the one that put him on the map, really. But
Yeah.
but to this day, it also kind of haunts him and bothers him because it was such a terrible, terrible working experience for him. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Let's go on to your other books too. You have Buck Rogers came next, right?
Right. Well, actually, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. A Hulk companion was the second one. You
Oops,
know,
my bad. Okay.
Trust me, you write these things, you remember all the pain that goes into them. That was my
Yeah.
second one. And guess what? I
Hmm.
didn't realize it would be so big. I didn't
Hmm.
realize it was, I think it was 4 or 5 seasons,
Yeah.
1 to 5 TV
Yeah, it was
movies, and
five.
2 feature films up to the point the book was done.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
That was freaking murder. I would have never. My new goal is a TV show that never went beyond a year. That's what I'm
Yeah.
into right now.
I know they had so many seasons and it went on for so long and they kept going. And there's so much you could do with the Hulk too. And you touched on a lot of it with the cartoons and what was going to happen after, and the ties with the Spider-Man and the spin-offs with Thor and Daredevil. There was so much to in one big book. Obviously, there's so much more you could have done. You know.
And boy, oh boy, again, had I, it's like going to Vietnam. Had I known how much work that book was going to be, I would have run for the hills. You know.
But yeah, but I mean, Hulk is my 1B, 1A is Hero, one Hulk is 1B, and that's what that was my first book that I bought from you, and actually, that's what actually got us talking, because
Well, what was I'm going to say this, Joe. What was amazing is you wrote me asking a couple of questions of the book, and
mhm,
you kept hinting on another genre book, and
yeah,
you're hinting you wanted the book on a show.
Yeah.
And after a couple of your emails, I suddenly realized, oh my God, he wants a Greatest American Hero book.
Yeah.
And I
I
was
just
literally finishing it as you wrote it. You were the only guy, you and yeah, outside of the immediate family, you were the only guy who got posts because I was so deep into this damn book at the time, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I loved the show as a kid, and I still love it to this day. And I said to myself, how does it kind of like fell by the wayside? And I just said, how is a book never written about such an awesome show that people need to know about it? Like, and it came to a point where I thought about doing it for myself and just to research on my own. And then when I heard what you were doing it, I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. I can't even wait for it to come out, you know?
Well, see, when you told me that, that increased my fear factor 100% because I'm thinking, oh God, I can't let Joe down, you know?
You're too
I think I
kind, but
told you
thank you.
my friend Gina Sheridan,
Uh-huh.
of Sean and Gina Sheridan of Southern California. After the Christmas party, the Sheridans were throwing a Christmas party. This is pre-COVID,
Hmm.
and she asked what I was going to work on next, and I mentioned like 3 projects, and I mentioned and maybe the Greatest American Hero, and she had that reaction you did, where the show is so important. You could just see it in the eye. You could just, and she goes, "Do that one. It was my favorite show. Do that one. Do that one." And I thought, wow, there's been nothing on the show. Every book I've done, I've tried to do something there is nothing for. There was no Buck Rogers TV show book at all. There was no Jaws book collecting all 4 movies. As I said,
Hmm.
every film book on Jaws pretended the other 3 movies didn't exist. And it's like, well, yeah, they kind of did exist. And it's like building the bomb. You want to find out how it led to this kind of thing. And
Right.
with Greatest American Hero, it was great, but it was one of those shows that it completely went off the radar. Nobody, I mean, it was to me, it was like choosing to do a book on a secret society. There's nothing. This book came out the 40th anniversary of the show's cancellation,
Yeah,
and
right.
there's
Hmm.
been nothing on the show. I mean, there are occasional articles here and there, including a couple by me and Starlog,
Hmm.
but there's been nothing on Greatest American Hero. Nobody ever chose to write a book for 40 years. And
I know.
it
And to me,
it
I mean,
passed.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, after you, Joe. Go ahead.
No, no, because I thought the same thing, and I thought, I remember liking it as a kid. I mean, I was too young for the original airing, but I remember it when it ran on reruns, and I remember it had to be the pilot I was looking at, and I said to myself, here's this superhero that's in a cool costume, I thought at the time, and still do,
You
and
gotta leave
he's
her.
out of control and doesn't know how to
Okay.
use it and doesn't know how to use his powers. And I thought it was a very, very out of the box way of thinking for a hero. And I watched it a little bit as a kid. I remember loving it, and
I'm
all of a
the
sudden it
image
was
guy.
just off the air. And then I couldn't find it for a long, long time. And it wasn't until they released it on DVD that I actually rediscovered the show, and I really loved it. And it was a huge gap of time from then, uh, you know, and from the beginning. And like for me, I couldn't find it on TV or anything, you know?
Right. It just like it never existed. You know what I mean? I
Right.
mean, it,
Hmm.
you know, it's like the show never existed. I mean, when you look at what happens with it, when you
Hmm.
look at, I mean, there was nothing on it. You know what I mean? I mean, it disappeared. How can something disappear like that? You know?
I know, it's crazy. So tell us about how you started the process. Like I know, did you dive into old records, old interviews? Did you start the interviewing process right away? Did you actually watch the shows itself? Was it something that, like, what was it that drew you in?
My brother Don during the lockdown, my brother Don handed me a cup of coffee and he was watching a channel called Heroes and Icons. And there was an episode of the show on, and my brother Don's a true crime buff, and we immediately recognized, I think it was the best desk scenario.
Hmm.
The murder the murder of a reporter named Don Bowles was, they used that as the B story. You know, the A story is Maxwell is having a midlife crisis. The
Hmm.
B story was that the Pam's law firm, you know, the guy's corrupt, but it was basically the Don Bolles murder. You know what I mean? I mean,
Hmm.
and I hadn't seen the show in a while, and watching it that day on Saturday when everything else was death tolls and everything else,
Hmm.
you forgot how light and sunny and funny and charming the show was, you know, and it was just a good counterpoint. I decided then and there, this is my next book, you know.
Very cool. So then how did that happen? Like how did you start about the writing process? What did you kind of like how did you get towards into the rabbit hole, so to speak?
Well, I knew Dennis. I knew Dennis Danger Man. I'd already interviewed Dennis for Starlog. I'd already interviewed William Cat for Starlog. And when I
So,
mentioned it to Dennis that I
so
was thinking
Dennis
about
is
doing,
the stunt
oh
coordinator
yeah, I'm
for the
sorry,
show.
Dennis Danger Man alone. Yeah, he
Yeah,
also took
Dennis.
my other photo in the book. So I mentioned it to him, I was really sending how receptive he was to the idea.
Hmm.
And the great thing is, I'd realized I'd had a bunch of Greatest American Hero people already. When you were asking about the acting and authoring thing, I belong to a SAG. I belong to the SAG bank. You know what I mean? I mean, and there was a guy in line ahead of me, and he looked really familiar. And I just said to him, were you on The Greatest American Hero? And he was a guest on one episode. Ran to my car, got my tape recorder. You know, I would do stuff like that. And I mean, there was a lot of people on the Incredible. When I did the Hulk book, Bill, what's his name from Sons of Anarchy, he was in the Antioch Horror. You know what I mean? And I got him talking about his two greatest American heroes. And I mean, he was just one of those guys. Everything, like you were saying, rabbit holing led one thing led to another. I did a story on a movie called Blackenstein for Fangoria Online,
Hmm.
and the guy from Blackenstein, the mad scientist from Blackenstein, is the Lone Ranger, John Hart, the Lone Ranger from not just the Clayton Moore show when he took over for a season, but he
Hmm.
played himself playing the Lone Ranger on Happy Days and Hero. And
Hmm.
walking Hollywood Boulevard, I was catching a train off of Hollywood Boulevard yesterday. I
Hmm.
didn't realize John Hart has a star on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh wow,
You
very
know,
cool. And
so
he was in that iconic episode. My heroes have always been cowboys.
and you know, Arnold Lavin, who I believe Arnold Lavin directed episode,
Hmm.
Arnold Lavin does not get enough credit. Arnold Lavin did so many great episodes of that show. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
mean, Arnold
Yeah.
Lavin is one of those. He's what they call ham and egger. He's one of those guys. He's a ham and egger. He would come in and do this show, that show, this show, that show. And I mean, he did all these fun horror movies like the monster that challenged the world, but he never got credit for doing all these great episodes. He would do like one of the best A teams you saw, and then just move on to the next gig. But Arnold Lavin, that great shot, and my heroes have always been cowboys, where
Hmm.
you see the Lone Ranger driving away in his truck, pulling Silver in the horse carrier, and Ralph in his station wagon going the other way.
Yeah.
What a beautiful damn shot! I'm sure
I
it was
know.
in the Cannell script, but
Yeah, I
what a
mean,
beautiful.
that was genius because you had, because in that episode, Ralph was doubting being the hero because he put people's lives in danger, so he thought. And then it took the Lone Ranger, who Ralph looked up to become the hero again. And there was also that cool subplot between Bill and the great late Robert Culp, and Bill and his mentor from the war, who he looked up to, and he was kind of becoming corrupt.
Yeah,
And then,
Kelly. I think his name was Kelly. Yeah,
yeah.
and but it was basically the episode is about heroes letting you down, and I
Hmm.
love that two shot where you see Ralph driving the station wagon into his
Hmm.
next adventure, and the Lone Ranger driving out of this strip mall into history. You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
it's this show is so good, and I think a lot of the reason it's so good is Cannell did not jump into superhero cliches. He's very blunt to me that he didn't like superheroes. He's
Hmm.
very blunt in the book in that he didn't. The guy did not. You don't get all the cliches you see in every superhero show, the evil double and this and
Hmm.
that. He didn't do any of that because he didn't know the genre. And
Yeah.
the whole genre is disbelief. Everyone Ralph faces looks at him in disbelief.
I
That's
know.
pure Canal. It's Rockford
Yeah.
Files, you know?
And I was thinking about that today. Like every time he's in a situation, he has the suit on, and he's in public, he's mocked. Like he's thought of as crazy. People want to put him in a mental hospital. And in the comic books, when Superman comes down, everybody's cheering. They want him, to save the
That's
day.
DC Comics. In
Yes.
Spider-Man, in Marvel Comics had a much more jaded worldview. Cannell had three little kids at the time, so you know what I mean. I mean, when you look at it, he was probably seeing a lot of the cartoons. I think that's how Super Friends showed up in the pilot. He was
Hmm.
probably listening to his kids watch Super Friends every week,
Hmm.
and the Marvel superheroes always, Stanley always had a more jaded real world New York feel to it. You know,
Hmm.
Spider-Man is hanging from a ledge and somebody yells, you know, jump you bum. I mean, that's to me, the Cannell show has a complete Marvel Comics ethos. And at this time in the early 80s, superheroes were dying off on TV. You know, Buck
I
was
know.
canceled that year. Hulk was limping through one more season. Everything was kind of, the lights were off. Superheroes
Hmm.
had gone to the movies. That summer was Indiana Jones making his debut, Superman 2. I
Hmm.
mean, in the superhero market, you needed money to pull off superheroes. And the
Right.
fact that Cannell did this show on a TV budget, and
Hmm.
yeah, the effects do creak, and some of them are a little too 80s for
Right.
modern audiences. But when you see Ralph lifting a car, he's lifting a real car. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When he punches through a wall, that's a real prop wall. In
Exactly.
CG,
Yeah.
where every in the modern movie, any Marvel superhero can do anything,
Hmm.
and yet I think that kind of leads to a disbelief in the audience. There's almost a weightlessness now to punching a fake wall or lifting a fake car on a blue screen. You know?
Right. Yeah, and the effects were done, like you said, with real people. And I think you have to give the show credit for the pilot when they had the spaceship cream that come down, because I think that still holds up today. If you were to
Oh
watch it
no, that
now,
that you're exactly right. That effect, which is a model, they're using models. Again, if they did that on TV yesterday, if they did a hero pilot tomorrow, I'm sure if we looked at the Greatest American Hero pilot from 2 years ago, it was all CG. You know,
hmm, right, right. And
but
one thing that I really liked in your book is you kind of Ralph. There was a whole lawsuit with Superman, and him being too much like
right.
Superman, but Ralph is, first of all, doesn't even have a superhero name. And secondly, he was like a mix of so many different heroes all kind of thrown in together. I think pretty unintentionally, because he had a little bit of Green Lantern, he had a little bit of Superman, he was a little bit of the Flash, he was a little bit of all these different characters. And his suit didn't even, I mean, it kind of resembled Superman, but not really, because he looked more like Shazam to us.
Yeah, I mean, even the fringe and the cape. It's pretty clear to me that Kal-El liked Shazam as a kid or Captain Marvel as a kid. You
Hmm.
could see he was taking bits and pieces from everybody. The whole difference is that every superhero origin, the superhero, I've these powers, I'm going to fight crime, I shall call myself blah blah blah. He never does that. This is
Hmm.
Ralph is a put upon nice guy. I mean, William Catt in his performance, it's a guy who doesn't want the job. So why would he give
Right.
himself a name of a job he's being forced to do?
Hmm.
So to me, that's just exciting. He treats it like anything else in his life, like being having the class foisted on him in the pilot. He treats it as just one more thing that he's going to complain about, but do it. He'll do it to
Right.
the best of his abilities, but he will make sure you know he doesn't want to do it. That's incredibly refreshing for a superhero show. It's incredibly refreshing for any show. He
Yeah.
does it. He's handed a job he doesn't want to do. He's going to do it as best he can. And I mean, one of the brilliant things of the show is that his team are naysayers. Pam and Bill, they also think what he's doing is crazy and nuts and everything else. And
Hmm.
they're both kind of pessimistic in their worldview because they deal with the public. He deals with kids. They deal
Right.
with the grown-up public as a lawyer and as a Fed.
Hmm.
So they're much more jaded than he is, but he is open-minded that this will be the week that'll change. People will finally understand and appreciate him. And of course, it never happens.
I know.
Brilliant.
I know. What was kind of brilliant too is like the suit was also a problem. Also, like you had your weekly crime that you had to stop. Bill usually presented something, but not only did you have to overcome that villain or whoever it was, but you also had to overcome not knowing what to do with the suit. Are you going to be a danger to other people? You don't, kind of not knowing what's going to happen. You know.
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of one of the cool things about it. Cannell literally has 2 or 3 episodes. I think Heroes has the scene where he almost kills a busload of Japanese tourists, and he realizes that this power gives him the ability to really hurt people if he's not careful. And it's
Right.
again treating it like something he doesn't want to do. That's so great. I mean, the people around him aren't awestruck watching him in costume. They're always just wishing. Bill and Pam are always wishing he could just do a better job. I mean,
Right.
and he wants to do a better job. And with the brilliant thing about this show is that Cannell has Bill profit off of what Ralph does. You know, he gets a raise every time he pretends to solve whatever Ralph went through that week. That's to me that's American 80s capitalism at its best. It's hilarious,
Yeah,
you know?
I know. Like Bill was the one, and what was on the flip side, Bill was always physically hurt during a lot of their adventures, and then Ralph was bulletproof. And then on the flip side, Bill would get the credit because he said in a couple of episodes he had a 90 something% kill rate and he was all of a sudden doing well in his job. And then Ralph was just, kind of under the radar being a high school special education teacher. So it was kind of genius too, where you had those parallels between the characters.
Yeah, I mean, Bill is getting promoted for what Ralph's doing, but Ralph is almost getting fired for what he's doing.
Yes.
It's hilarious. I mean, because by Bill pretending to be good at his job because of what Ralph is doing,
Hmm.
but Ralph is always late. I mean, remember the really smart thing Cannell does is he gives him that cheap black wristwatch on his wrist. So the whole time you're seeing him in action, you're aware he's running late for something. That's really an appealing take on the show, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to pause now. Is it okay? I think we're at that half an hour point.
Works for me, Joe. You
All
know,
right. Do you want to continue?
we can either continue today or another day. If you want to go on, I can go on.
All right, let's continue.
Yeah, what the
All
hell?
right. Okay. Hold on.
Take your time.